the other way now, right?
A few of us were at
It
that
was,
council meeting. Yeah, we'll come back down that way.
well attended.
Huh?
I said it was well attended for, although I heard last week was crazy busy,
Yeah.
full.
But I was proud of Oldsmar, because people were
Hi,
well
Carwa.
Being
spoken,
blackjack tonight.
they were courteous.
I can't, the lights, they killed
Really?
me.
Didn't you?
And
I mean,
my beige
if you've ever been
blew up
here.
in the washing machine, so I borrowed my wife's red one, but it clashes. I got 4 of these up at Tarpon for $5 a piece to take to the St. Johns River. My family were all on the
My
river
ex
for
lives on the
vacation.
street.
So all the girls got one and I got one.
He builds
So-
great pools. No, he builds great pools.
Bucks, you can't fight and beat it.
No,
No,
I'm
you
saying-
sure can. I know what you
Or
mean.
Jeff does the reporting.
So how you doing, Mr. Car Wash?
Huh?
How you doing, Mr. Car Wash?
You get cool nicknames, huh, Mr. Car Wash, wow.
Well, you didn't hear the mayor?
They're
I'm talking
recording.
about his
I was proud of us.
car wash comments.
I thought everybody was very respectful and.
Volunteer for what?
Chair.
Chair?
Jim's supposed to do it. Jim isn't here yet.
And Pat's the co-chair, but
Isn't comfortable. So
you got a quarter?
2 of you have the most experience.
Pick a number.
So
You got a quarter?
Pick a number between 1 and 10.
No, I don't have,
got it.
I don't carry money anymore. I have no money at all.
Or I can see it. I
Pick
can
a
see
it
it.
between 1 and 10.
I'll
Whoever's
chair
closest.
it, chair it.
Yeah, go
Are
ahead.
you sure you don't want to carry the hammer?
Maybe that's a question
That's
we should
impressive.
ask
Good
before we,
Lord.
before we vote in the
Take a
vice
big
chair,
man
we
to
should
carry
ask
that
them if they're
devil,
willing to
wouldn't it?
chair, if the chair isn't there.
That is too funny.
I wouldn't want to do it.
And why is not Jim Mason here again? He got reelected.
Reappointed.
Planning to be here.
I think he's tired from the last meeting.
Bless.
All right, jokes over.
I just had someone come in, maybe it was him. Let's see who it is.
6:30, right? 6:29. Nope.
Uh-oh.
Hey.
The big apple.
I ain't man enough. I forgot the Pledge of Allegiance. Somebody help. I hereby call the August, what's today? 11th meeting of the Oldsmar Planning Board to order. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, if you will. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and all right, it's been a minute. Excuse me, I am ill prepared. Wednesday, August 11th. I hereby open the Citizens Open Forum to 5 minutes. Anyone speaking to a subject not on the agenda. However, I don't like that
This, I have
dialogue issue, so if you want to talk about anything, you can. I hereby open the Citizens Open Forum to anyone cares to speak. Seeing none, we'll move on. Citizens Open Forum is now closed. Swearing-in process. Anyone wishing to speak on any item on today's agenda that requires an oath, please stand for that said oath. Ms. Horvath?
You're going to speak. You swear the testimony you're about to give is the truth, so help you before God? Yep. Thank you.
Okay, item 1, approval of minutes dated July 14th. Seek a,
Move to be approved.
Seconded.
all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Number 2, PLT 20-01, Romans replat of portion of Sickle subdivision. Open for discussion, or open for, please, go ahead.
Good afternoon, Board. Elena Delgado, Planning and Redevelopment. If the board is okay with it, I actually have a presentation that also includes the second plat project into it. So if we are able to get a quorum after the first plat and then just move right into the second one, if that is okay with the board.
I'm okay with that.
We're all okay with that. Please continue.
The purpose of plats are given under Article 4 of the LDC, basically stating a record for real estate boundaries, aid in land development, promote health and welfare, ensure necessary improvements to lasting quality, ensure that the citizens will not have to bear the cost of resulting from haphazard subdivisions, and to maintain the authority of the city to require installation by the developer of adequate and necessary physical improvements. Most plats are created to divide a larger parcel into separate lots that meet certain zoning standards, but this is also required for combining established tracts of land into one parcel, as we will see with the two upcoming plats. A final replat is required as part of the site development process. The general process looks like this, where we start with a concept development plan before moving into the technical review committee. Staff follows up and works with the developer on due diligence, looking at things like application completeness, conformance reviews, utility coordination, easements, before moving into planning board, city council, before it's finally established. So our first case for you is PLT 20-01. It is located at 161 Douglas Avenue of a replat of 5 lots to a single 0.76 acre lot, which includes the current lot 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11 within the ROR residential office retail zoning district. The developer is proposing a single-story retail building and an adjacent parking area, and the replat includes and contains a dedicated 10-foot TICO easement. And on your screens, you will see the approved site plan. Okay. That is the first replat. Do we have any questions before moving? Form?
Open the board to questions. John, do you have any questions of staff?
When you say approved site plan, this is approved by the planning department, is that?
Yes, yes.
You through? Yeah.
I don't really have any problems or any questions about it, other than I don't know, it just looks like a kind of an odd place for a retail. I mean, it's kind of, you know, Gimgong Road there is just a little 2-lane road that you really can just drive right by. I know the spa now has opened up, so there's more visible area out there. But I don't know, it just seems kind of like an odd, you know, I don't think I would put if I were going to buy into a retail shop, I don't think I would buy into one in this location. But that's neither here nor there, really. I really have no problem with the plat.
I don't have any questions or any problems, and apologies for being late. It's called work. Sorry.
No worries.
Thank you for that. Pat, you have any questions
No,
of staff?
I too, I mean, I drove through there and I saw the small houses behind in there. I couldn't believe it. But anyway, yes, I too thought, well, business is here, but so be it. It's not up to me.
Ms. Oliver?
I don't have any questions at all about the project, and I appreciate the presentation of it. Just a point of order, because I haven't been on the planning board very long. How do you notify the neighbors? What is the process for that? I'm just curious.
Yes, so we actually, during the application process, request that the developer brings us a mailing list of all of the neighbors and adjacent landowners within 200 feet.
I saw that as an attachment, so.
And then we just send it out, and we wait for any letter of response if they have any sort of issue with the plat or the process.
So it's through the mail, though?
Yeah.
Thank you.
And the agenda, sorry, Tatiana Childress, Planning and Development. The agenda also comes out, the agenda The other way how we advertise is through, the planning board agenda comes out, so it's virtual as well, so.
Oh,
We
the list is
notify,
in there,
yes,
that's-
yes, similar to how the council meetings are, the agenda for council meetings, similar to the planning board, also comes out with a staff report.
Okay, great. And the newspaper, too.
And
I
the
knew it was in the
newspaper,
newspaper.
yes, yes. thank
But I saw the list of the individual addresses,
Yeah.
and that's why I was curious how you know, so it seemed like you were doing an extra personal outreach to the neighbors, which, thank you.
I have no questions. I thought this was great. No questions at all. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I did have one question, one concern, and I forgot, I didn't make a note, so I forgot about it. The, back behind here, across from Douglas Road, there's some smaller houses, apartment houses. Those things used to flood real easy. Now, I know a lot of work was done to take care of the flooding there, but it still has some problem. Is there any chance that this is gonna increase the problem to those residents back there, or has it
So-
already been looked at, or what?
So during our process, that wheel, here, let me pull it back. During the due diligence process, we actually go through a conformance review and we make sure that the impacts are mitigated in a project.
This project also went through the site plan review, at which point the engineer designed the system for this site specific to take any water that's fallen on this site will be captured within that basin, basically. So he's not going to be, all that impervious surface is not going to be, the water is not going to be running from that parking into the neighboring streets or the properties across the street. So the grading, they do take it, all of the grades, they come inside. So it's like part of the site development and drainage. I wish Daniela was here, but everything has to be captured on site, and then they only can spill some water out at increments, yeah.
I
and-
got you. I understand. Okay, I was just worried about the people living back there behind, because it used to flood, a little rain and it would flood back there. So anyway, no,
Sure.
that's fine. Thank you.
I
Thank you,
also
Mr.
forgot to mention the sign. So each project, a planning case, we do post a sign on the property itself. The requirement is 7 days prior to the public hearing, which is happening today. So we do advertise. If you drive by that area, you'll see an orange poster. It says when the meeting is going to be happening, what's on the agenda, and that's 7 days prior. Sorry, forgot.
Okay,
Ask
the
him.
place is,
May I ask another question? Is this the one that's already under construction?
half built.
Okay.
I dropped a letter in the mail today and saw, I didn't mean to drive by. I'm not supposed to have prior knowledge of anything that we're talking about, but I saw it was half-built.
So my question is why would it be going for approval after it's already started?
To replat.
Defer.
This is a replat, so the site plan is already given, the use is already given by code, so the ROR, residential office retail, allows that certain use. Those cases, they don't go in front of the planning board or council unless they need some variances. So if that site required a variance, it would go in front of the board of adjustments. If that was just a given and the designer, engineer met all of the requirements of the site plan approval, then it just goes through TRC, building, through Pinellas County building approval, all the way to construction, and you are required, an owner is required to submit a replat before issuance of the CO. So that's why you're seeing here, and normally a replat would be maybe a little bit more complicated, but this is a simple, like just 4 lots or 5 lots into 1 lot. It's a requirement to consolidate all of those 4 individual lots into 1 parcel, because it's one continuous development with 1 parking lot, shared amenities like all throughout all of those 4 existing lots, so it has to be combined.
Okay,
And
so-
easements recorded, so there are easements on site here, so that's also part of the replat process and the conformance review.
Okay, so we're just approving the
Yes, so we're not approving the use, we're not approving the site plan, we're not looking at anything else other than 5 lots into 1 lot, easements are on the plat. Conformance review with the surveyor was done, no objection letters from all the utilities, and yeah, that's it.
Kind of like figure 2 changes into figure 1. You know, all those little lines from the lots become 1. I have no questions as chair. I seek a motion to evaluate, submit to recommendation to the city council, Romans replat sickle subdivision for approval.
Second.
Did I say that right? Seek a second, did I hear a second? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? None? Motion approved. Item 2, man, am I rusty? PLT 21-2, Family 5 subdivision. The requested action here is to evaluate and submit a recommendation to the City Council on Family 5 subdivision. Staff, your report, please.
So for PLT 2102, it's located at 411 St. Petersburg Drive and is a replat of 4 lots into a single .702 acre lot, which includes lots 11, 12, 13, and 14, located in the TCCR zoning district. The proposed use is 2 two-story, 5,000 square foot commercial office buildings and adjacent parking, and includes a dedicated 5-foot sanitary sewer easement and blanket TICO easement. There's also been a previously approved site plan, which is on your screen for review. It's also in the staff report.
Oh, this is across from the library.
Yes.
Just a simple
Yes.
replat.
Yes.
Okay. John, do you have any questions of staff?
If you don't mind skipping me, I'll take a minute.
I'll skip you, and we'll start down on the other end then. Pat, do you have any questions of
No,
staff?
I don't. I'm okay.
Susan, do you have any questions of staff? That's a cute little white buildings going in across from the library. You've seen them?
Next to the moose.
Taken forever.
Yeah, it's the right adjacent, right next to the moose, right?
Yes.
So there's a moose and then there'll be these
Yep,
4
moose,
that.
yep. Yeah.
Okay. Sometimes I have to go and look to figure out what's what, and I would kind of like to wait too. I guess my question stems from this property information report. And
Okay.
I'm not quite sure that I understand where it talks about the unsatisfied mortgages, liens. What has
It's-
that got to do with? what we're
Nothing
doing?
necessarily. This is just an identification. We just want to make sure you had an updated version of the certificate of
'cause it
ownership
just- yeah,
per
I
the
appreciate it,
package you
but-
got. So we're just making sure we're
Okay.
being
I
up to
don't-
date.
I don't have any
Okay.
questions then. Thank you.
I have no questions. Thank you.
I have no questions, thank you.
Mr. Harvey?
Well, the water boy here is gonna ask this question. We're covering up a lot more green, covering up a lot more land with concrete and paving. Have we taken care of that? And the engineer has already made sure that the water is not gonna be a problem.
We did. So the site plan meets the requirements for the impervious surface area ratio for that district. Again, no variances, so that's approved site plan. And I believe they are buying into the stormwater, which is approved, stormwater system for the town center, which is approved by the code. To promote development in downtown, we have this incentive where they can buy into the existing stormwater system. Yeah.
Okay, I figure, I guess as you can tell, I didn't get a chance to study like I would like to have before I got here, but, yeah, I figured it was there, but I just, I'm always concerned about the water, especially when we start covering up ground. Very concerned about it, because, it's pretty flat around here. So water doesn't really have any place to go. I've seen my street flood, when the real heavy rain. So anyway, okay, that's all I have. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome. John?
No questions. Thank you.
Well, if you make a note of that photograph in aerial figure 1, you see that big old live oak tree in where number 12 is? They managed to not kill that tree, putting these,
Yeah,
and I am very pleased about that. We lose too many trees without permits in
I
this
know,
town.
I know.
Persuasive arborist who likes to keep them intact.
Being said, my opinion once again leaked out. I have no question to staff for a simple replat. I've watched the development of this. It looks like it's going nicely, and I'm pleased with the addition on St. Pete Drive, with the development in that area. I seek a motion from the board on PLT 21-2, Family of 5 subdivision, to submit a recommendation to the city council for approval.
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None opposed. PLT 2102 passes to go to council. CA 2105 has been canceled, correct?
Postponed, yeah, postponed.
Any comments from staff on anything, about anything? Anybody want to chat it up?
I just have a question. I heard you say that you seek a motion, then you got a second. So are you the first? Are you making the first motion?
I'm not allowed to do that.
So we
So
only
we
got
never
a
really made a
second for
motion.
both.
No one made
I
a
thought you were making a motion.
Oh, I'm not
I
allowed to
didn't
do
get much
that.
sleep last night. Okay, my bad.
Oh, then let's back up again here. I seek a motion on PLT 2102, Family of Five, from the board. I seek a motion to approve. I need a second. No, I need a motion. to approve. Told you I was rusty.
John?
Second.
Need a motion first. I'm trying to get,
Is this set number 2?
You have to read.
Beats up, I thought he said it.
Did I not say out loud what the motion was?
Yes, you
We
did.
have a motion on the floor, PLT 2102, Family of Five subdivision. We seek a motion for approval from the board
motion
for approval to
for
staff.
approve to the council.
Yes.
Recommendation for approval to the council.
I seek a second.
Second.
All in favor? All opposed? Nay. Motion passes. 1, 2, 3,
We have
4,
to do
5,
the prior
6,
one too,
7,
right?
and none.
Just for the record, I'd just like to say that there's nobody here for a public hearing. You didn't ask for the public hearing, but there's
We
no
did.
one present. So I
Oh.
just want that on the record.
Anybody want to speak? Nope. Okay.
I actually have a question. It's just a general one. Because I too find it odd that the building's approved, and I think that might be why sometimes there are questions that are off topic, is because we're voting on a replatting, and the building's already built, and it's kind of, seems like after the effect. It seems like they would replat it first and get all the ducks in a row, and then get the project started. And so I think, though, that's sometimes why questions come up about the structure and all the other things that you've already been through all that process. But for us, it's the first time seeing it, and we're voting on replatting for something that we don't know why it's being replatted. So I just was curious why it's that way.
So usually the replat takes place after the building is already been approved and infrastructure has already been approved for some of these projects, and then it can take up to 4 months, at least a month for the conformance review. So they submit the application. Each application has to run through the TRC, so that's 1 month. Then once the TRC approves these applications, then it goes through the survey company for conformance review. So city hires a third-party surveyor who then initiates and works directly with the other surveyor, and they work out all of these details that have to be incorporated into plat, like recording of the easements. Sometimes these are more complicated, and it may take like the covenants and restrictions, and all of these things are specified, and it becomes part of the plat. And
I
it
just want to make
takes,
sure I understood it right. 'Cause
Sure.
to me, it seems like it's just a formality that
these
not
two
something-
particular ones, they're just a formality, and sometimes they would run through administrative replat if it involves two lots and no easement, so they could run as an admin replats and you won't even see them. So we approve them administratively because they meet all of the conditions of the code. Here we were dealing with more than 2 lots and some easements, plus it's commercial, so it just has to be pushed through the same process. I wish we had a simplified process for these, so we do have the admin replats. It's not as complicated as the subdivision replat, but it still follows kind of like the same path. So, and for staff, again, TRC, then conformance review with the surveyors, you're looking at 2-3 months. Then it's placed on the planning board, that's another month, and then council, that's another month. So they could take up to 4 months after the site plan is already approved. And usually the site plan comments generate this requirement for a replat. It's one of the common site plan comments we're stating, please note that a final replat will be required prior to issuance of the CO. So we give a little bit of time because we know that it takes time to execute these legal documents.
Thank you for the education. So what would happen if the city council didn't approve the replat?
Well, there would be a reason why they would not approve, so it would be something in reference to,
I foresee we're gonna get a lot more of these, so I just wanna make sure I have a clearer understanding.
like easement agreements, or a mistake that they spotted on the plot, or,
If for whatever reason something slipped through our fingers, like through TRC and the due diligence for like all of those months of work, and for some reason planning board or someone on city
But the
council caught it.
business would still be able to open and run, it would just
they would
be-
have to go back, fix those problems, and come back to the council again to record. But usually that would be a surveyor, so the surveyors are the ones that are doing the plots, so, and we don't have a surveyor that works for the city, so we have to sub out this work to a third party. And the surveyor reviews this, it's per Florida statute 177, so they just go through the list, and that list is also listed in our land development code, because we have to do the same as the Florida statute, so.
Again, and I hear the rain came while I asked
I
my
hear
question,
it.
so I apologize to the board for getting
Flooding
wet.
outside.
That's
Thank you.
okay.
May I ask a follow-up question?
Are we adjourned?
No,
Okay,
I haven't called for that yet.
I thought you did. I'm sorry.
Okay, if I ask a follow-up question? So one question I had is, so how does the city determine which developments come to the board and which don't? And I'm asking because sometimes things happen that are impactful, and then we find out after the fact, which seems to be very true of a pond fill in my community, so.
That was a mistake back in 2001, I would say, but I don't want to speak on that matter right now. So every replat goes through stages of, and that was a complicated one because it had phases and it had also preliminary
I'm asking
replat.
how is it a permitted without, or what determines what comes to the board?
Everything
versus-
comes to the board pretty much. If it's a subdivision replat, if it's any kind of like splitting of one parcel into multiple parcels, unless it meets the requirements of the administrative replat, which administrative replat is for the most part is just for the residential, mostly single-family homes. So if you have, for instance, it's been very common practice, as you know, you have an oversized lot, and you want to split it in two lots because it meets a certain zoning, because when the lot was created, the zoning was not in place. So today, if you have, for instance, 100 by 100, by 150 or 80 lot, you could technically split that lot into two parcels if you're in R2 zoning. So that would go through an admin replat. It meets like 6 items, like you're not, as I mentioned, creating any easements, you're not causing impacts, you're good with the current density under the land under the countywide rules, and also our land use map, because you have to, when you split, you have to make sure that you're still within the current density. So if it's just 1 unit per acre, you can't put 2 units on that acre, so you still have to stay. So if you're not violation of any of those things, like we check, like we almost have like a check mark. It goes through as an admin replat, TRC review, and then city manager approval.
So rezoning, a replatting, any kind of changes to the existing, I guess, the existing code for that particular piece of, that particular lot, those things come to the board, but a new building structure won't. Like these all are under construction already. So is there any time when those come to us?
Yes, so that would be when it's a new subdivision. So you've probably seen some of these as,
Except in the TCCR, right? They don't come to us. Town center redevelopment.
plats. If it's a subdivision plat, it will go through the
Well,
planning
this
board.
one was in the TCCR, but most TCRs don't come to us on new development.
I think we're like confusing 2 different things. So for instance, if we take, for instance, the development Bayside Terrace. So it used to be a mobile home park. Then before the developer was able to split those lots into single family or however they how many they're townhomes actually. So they initiate a preliminary replat. That preliminary replat basically tells you, okay, how many units I can fit on this parcel, how many parcels will be created, what is the current density that allows me to place those units on that land. At that point, there's probably a development agreement, which is created, and the development agreement with all those terms, with the preliminary plat, will be presented to the planning board.
Are you asking specific, like for any building, any site plan, will you guys see it? Is that the general question?
Well, I know there's things that come to us and there's things that don't. I just was curious why
I
certain
see.
things don't come to us and why certain things do. That's all. I think for a lot of us, it's unclear why certain things come to
I
us.
see,
and some
as far as the site plans, okay.
Yeah.
So the site plans, if you look at our zoning map has each section of the zoning area in our land development code has uses, and it also has approved, that are already approved in there. And the density, intensity, setbacks, all the zoning regulations are already in the code. So if a developer, similar to how the Roman site plan was, is proposing a building that is not exceeding anything that's currently given by the code, that site plan goes just through the TRC. If land use change or a different use is introduced, then you'll see it here. But if something from the code that's already given by zoning, all they have to do is just provide a site plan, say we're proposing this, we're meeting all the zoning regulations, we're meeting the parking for this site, those projects you won't see unless it's in the town center code. So anything in the town center code is approved by the council, like this.
Thank you for clarifying.
Any other question?
Or Tampa
Now,
Road corridor.
that qualifies our 10 minutes of training for the planning board. That should satisfy the mayor about our behaviors up here. And on that note, I missed the meeting, and I didn't want to. I watched what you all went through. It was a very complicated thing you all did last month. I want to honor you for your courage and what you did. And you took a stand, and you delivered a message from the planning board. We're volunteers. We think on our own, we come up with our own ideas, we're regular Joes, and we said, this is what we think. And whether that's appreciated or not by council, sometimes I'm not sure. So that being said is my comment on what you guys did last month.
I'd just like to tag on that though, because if I was at the council meeting, and if we had seen.
Saw you there on TV.
If we had seen what was presented to council, we may have had a different conversation. And a few of us were there, so I do think that if we had seen what was presented at that time, and hopefully our comments on the planning board, as much as, I thought we talked about the issue, but as much as they may have seemed, like it was, like you say, we don't have any power, I do think that it helped to give some structure to what was presented at the council meeting.
Thank you all for your efforts. Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, and just in comment that, just to piggyback that, I mean, when a change is being proposed, having a vision for that change makes a huge difference. If we don't see what is planned, then it's like putting the cart before the horse. You're just like, what does this mean? So if you kind of see a plan, then you're like, okay, well, now I know what this could mean. I know what the intent is. It makes it a lot easier.
That's why we're advisory. Chair seeks motion for adjournment.
One more comment to add to all that, because, and I just want to throw an idea out there. We've met very often recently, but sometimes we don't meet for months.
Yeah.
If we could suggest maybe one of those nights we all get together, have a presentation. What does planning do? I know there's a Janice Miller Academy, and I know we can go through that, but could we get together and have an education course? Basic, here's a plat, here's a this, here's how this process works. And maybe one of the nights that we don't have a meeting.
I love that.
Thanks, but I don't need any training.
Thank you.
And as a point of order, the planning board can call a meeting anytime it wants to discuss things. It's in the charter.
Okay.
If you want, you can, like, I don't know how you would do it. You go through Kathy, because of sunshine law, we can't talk to each other except up here. You'd say, we really need to sit down and talk, but you'd kind of, an agenda item or a suggestion or even a subject of conversation might be valuable, but the planning board can call a meeting outside of the standard monthly meeting.
Okay.
We've never done that.
Do we need to meet officially to go through
Yeah,
a
it has to be
training?
official. Oh, you're training, I don't know about
Like
that.
a workshop, just education series, invite the whole public, but we can be in attendance, this way we're not violating sunshine?
I like my Joe citizen's ignorance. That brings me just, I read what I see here and I make judgments on that. You can't make me into and this is my opinion, you can't make me into a trained public a volunteer for planning. That's their job.
I don't think we're trying to make anybody into a trained expert on this, but understanding TCCR, zoning, basic knowledge of what they're speaking of and what they're talking
And that's
about.
why I open this up for questions like that. And well, that's just something I did because I happen to have the chair. And if I'd have taken Bob's pushing me into the chair last time for elections, I would be doing that still. But, and I've watched this development idea since 1995. I've lived here since 1994. I remember when they called this area blighted, and there's $600,000 homes on Lee Street. That's not blighted anymore. Right. But we're still carrying on that concept of blighted. Yet we want to put in a blighted area this big idea down there on State Street. Well, it seems to me you ought to change that from blighted. I mean, are we still blighted? I've had this discussion before with Marie and Felicia and oh gosh, I miss her. I miss the gals, but that worked in planning, and we're developing a new relationship with Tatiana and Miss Staff over here. I'm sorry, I forgot your name. Elena. And but as this goes on, we will gather more information. That's the whole point. If you stay on this board long enough, I mean, Bob's been here 30 years.
So we'll just ask Bob.
Say what?
Anyway.
I wouldn't do that if I were you.
Possible, going back to the original question.
Are we just delaying because of the rain?
No.
Yes.
But would it be possible, because what I heard was that the replatting, for example, that we see versus not, is because something wasn't perfect. So to know what that.
So much for understanding.
So to know what that was would be helpful. This doesn't meet this criteria, this doesn't meet this zoning standard, just so that's clear without having to read all of everything, just to have kind of a one-sheeter, this is what the issue is.
This wonderful person here will take your phone calls and answer any question you have.
Has.
And she does. She's done it for me. I mean, I on my personal issues, I mean, and then I read the code too, Have you ever gone there and tried to read that monster? But if you do, you get better at it, right? That's what I've done, so.
And I went to the office one time, and to her credit, she came right out and met with me. I don't remember what my question, but the other question I was gonna ask that day, and I forgot, does anything ever come to the planning board that doesn't have your support? And if so, how would we know that? Or can we assume that because you've got these paperwork and they've met everything they need to clear planning for the city of Oldsmar?
Way I was taught, so how the municipality works, how the system at the city of Oldsmar operates, any planning cases that we present to you, at the end we have to provide staff recommendations. So it's always, so we don't just present to you and let you decide. So staff always has to come up with a conclusion whether or not it meets the certain sections of the code, and we've done our evaluation. We've presented the report based on certain sections of the code, and
Staff does
we
not
stay,
recommend this.
correct.
I've seen a
yes.
few of those.
And
They're
we've
not very
had-
common.
Yes.
I know, I was
Wasn't there a
gonna say, I don't
remarket
think I've
coming
ever
up?
seen that. I went back to a few that I had, and I thought, well, how are we gonna know?
Yeah, they came to us with the flea market and did not recommend
exactly.
Oh, they
approval.
did.
Yeah,
No.
so they bring stuff to us.
And I can tell you, over the years, there's been many times that this board has not agreed with staff. And
really?
staff would make recommendations, and the board would say, nope,
That's,
and vice versa, so it's, you know.
and that's why we're here.
Yeah.
To make those decisions as citizens.
Okay, good.
Anything else, guys? Hi, John?
Just one more,
This is
one more,
great.
one more thought is that if you guys have a decoder ring of all the acronyms and things.
Oh, yes.
Because I know what it's like. I'm sure you guys need it too, but if you have something that you could share, that would be wonderful.
This is like lighthearted. We genuinely joke about flow charts about how things are supposed to work. And there are even times where I have to defer to Tatiana on a constant basis. So, yeah, we can.
Just a minimal, you know, just the basics.
Yeah, well,
Well, I'll tell you, then too, you're in for a treat when what is the comprehensive plan comes up every 10 years, is it?
7 years.
7
every
years?
7 years, so
You're in for a
next
treat
year.
when that comes up.
Oh, okay. Yes.
That's brutal, brutal.
When is it due?
So usually it's the end of August, so we'll be notified, we'll be given a year advance notice. So we have to either provide a letter stating that our code is in compliance and we don't have to amend any sections, or we have to review, do a comprehensive review and then send for all the elements. And I believe there are 9 elements right now, so
Right.
each element will have to be, yep.
So you're going to be looking at a stack of papers like that, and
There's your training.
it really gets complicated. It
I'm
does
looking
get
forward to it.
complicated, but I've done it several times now. But if you look at it and listen and try to follow the logic of it, it's not that difficult. And these guys, I mean, they know what they're talking about. You know, we don't. You know, we're just the what do you call us, Joe Blow citizens or whatever it goes.
Joe citizen.
Joe citizen. You know, so but when you get into that comprehensive plan, it will be an education, and it's a lot of fun. Okay.
Well, the chair seeks to adjourn the meeting of August 11, 2021.
Actually, I have one more thing. Motion to adjourn.
Approved. There's no second required in an
Oh,
adjournment.
no, that's right. I just wanted-
See, if Mason would give me my
Point of order
guidebook
when I
back
was
that I
speaking, it
made
wasn't
for
a point
being
of order.
chair, if he'd give it back, I could have used it tonight. But I forget these things.
Thank you.